Awesome. So welcome to our June meeting, our June monthly general meeting for the Inland SoCal Housing Collective. We have a great agenda, and as I said, we do have some people still coming in, so let's get them in before we launch in real quick. All right. Awesome. So we have two speakers who will be joining us today and providing just updates, a special presentation. So first off, we will have Charly Ligety, who will be sharing a little bit about the Housing Innovation Collaborative, as well as some updates from the IE Community Foundation. So, and we have, in addition, we also have some partners. I know there's a lot going on right now in terms of policy ask and events and conferences. So we will have that general updating time towards the end from 2 to 2:30, where I expect some partners to jump in and share some action items and or upcoming events and conferences to stay tuned to. So stop sharing. And we're going to get started. So, Charly, I gave you presenting rights if you need those.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah.
And I was just going to do just a quick intro. So I know you're the director of research and development at Housing on Merit and also serve as the managing director of the Housing Innovations Collaborative, which we're excited to hear about today. It's a global housing development research platform and that showcases the latest designs, finance, and policy solutions to address the housing affordability crisis across the world. So thanks for jumping on again. I think we had you here about 2 years ago, and so we're excited just to hear all the new stuff that has been happening with the collaborative.
Yeah, no, thank you, Melanie, and good seeing many familiar faces here. Yeah, I guess high level. So, based here in Los Angeles, actually, and I work for a nonprofit. It's a national nonprofit called Housing on Merit, which it's kind of funny. It's sort of has its roots in the traditional affordable housing world. It serves as the co-GP nonprofit MGP in California, but sort of a partner with 20 different developers across 80 different communities in 7 states across the country, really serving as the compliance and services and the nonprofit, partner, sometimes resident services coordinator with a range of for-profit developers around the country. And we're largely, I guess, our portfolio is largely focused on California. We have about 50 projects here, and then we have a presence in the Carolinas, South Carolina, North Carolina as well. And so, I mean, I guess like sort of the root or like the seed funding for the Housing Innovation Collaborative, which is really sort of a subsidiary research arm of Housing on Merit, was sort of an out of the box platform that we created to kind of break out of our traditional affordable housing role, and also just like sort of the traditional low income housing tax credit world that we operated in, just to like sort of look for other ways that we could, sort of help in this crisis of affordable housing and homelessness across both the country and in Southern California. And so back in 2019, myself, along with the board of directors of Housing and Merit, set about actually originally creating kind of like a housing World's Fair type of experience in Los Angeles that sort of was similar to the way that Los Angeles responded to the energy crisis in the early 2000s. They created this exhibition and co-working space in downtown. I don't know if anyone's heard of the LA Clean Tech Incubator Space, the Lacey Lab, but it's kind of a great sector problem, social impact focused collaborative between public-private partners. And then during the pandemic, we kind of pivoted from doing this on-site display of modular, 3D printing, modular housing, various social services, various design, policy, finance solutions in one space, and thought maybe we should take it kind of in a virtual path and host this kind of World's Fair of various ways to build housing basically cheaper, faster, better across the various, areas of focus that go into housing development. And so this Housing Innovation Collaborative is a website. If you Google housing innovation, I think it's the first or second thing that comes up. But basically, it's a website that we launched in 2020 that we've had running in the background. We still manage it, I guess, day to day if there's like broken links or whatever. But it is interesting just to watch it without very much oversight of just how it kind of grows into this kind of ongoing community of various verticals. So I can just kind of give a quick overview of the website, sort of what we have accumulated in research over the past couple of years. And funny enough, just before this, I was just like looking at our traffic report because we literally do no advertising, no outreach. Like I probably do one of these presentations like once a year, but we still get like tons of email traffic asking us questions about like various communities, or projects or factories or housing displays or a pallet shelter, which you see a lot in Southern California, for example. We get tons of cities asking us about the pallet shelter, which is, I guess, a testament to that even with that, like just seeding and creating this website as sort of an exchange of ideas of sort of a visual kind of World's Fair displaying solutions as continuously kind of attracted about 65,000 people a year to the website. And you can see it's mostly trafficked by people in the US, some global folks, Canada, UK, Australia. But we've really tried to, kind of, I guess, consolidate or centralize a lot of ideas around development, whether it's a financing solution or a new design of a building technique that could, save money or time, into this like kind of area of sharing. And yeah, I mean, so the first couple of years, we also had a newsletter that went out. So we actually kind of pinpoint what parts of like the housing development ecosystem, especially in like the US, like who were those 45,000 people that were like coming to the website and kind of educating themselves on the issues of various housing development solutions. And so, some of the bigger, I guess, visitors or people that were opening or forwarding emails and everything was, a lot of, as you can see, a lot of city governments, some Congress, kind of federal, I guess, level and state level legislators, and then a large kind of representation of the industry, architecture firms, various larger developers, brokers, Habitat for Humanity, and the academic institutions, just sort of like in tracking email domains, coming to the website, clicking on links, engaging with the platform. So it's not something that we lead 24/7 day to day right now and actively growing, but it is interesting to kind of see just the community that's built up around these various ideas that we've really kind of crowdsourced from a large portion of folks. But yeah, kind of like the high level overview on this website. So I don't know if anyone's ever been to the website, but we have these kind of, I guess, a collection of directories, sort of almost as if you were to go to Disneyland and there's like the four realms of, future and Adventureland and kind of various themes. We sort of collected these ideas as a display of solutions around the lines of kind of the lowest entry, quickest shelter possible to address the solution, all the way up to obviously long-term, more sustainable solutions. And that's both from the built item, whether it's just literally a hard shell tent, all the way up to bond financing for larger portfolio construction of various types of affordable housing developments across the whole region. And so the Rapid Shelter Showcase, for example, was the first exhibit that we showcased where it kind of started with the LA Mayor's office at the beginning of the pandemic getting tons of just unsolicited proposals for rapid shelter solutions during that kind of acute health crisis of trying to find RVs and tents and turning convention centers into congregate shelters and various things. And so we kind of took that momentum and kind of built on it of kind of just creating this whole the sort of Wikipedia or display of a bunch of different solutions out there on the market. And so the whole kind of website is supposed to be very visually forward, like kind of here's the 30-second elevator pitch on like sort of how that project works, what's the deployment of it, some photos. Sometimes we tour inside them, and we have kind of a whole virtual model built in behind this. Kind of get back to that backbone of like if you had a virtual World's Fair, like, and if you could imagine kind of walking inside all these units as if you were going to that fair, what would that experience be like too? Just kind of going through tons of open houses. Um, and so the rapid shelter, similar to like the other databases we host here, is like it's sortable. So if a city is looking for something that's just like ready in stock and ready to go, they can learn more about, the pallet shelter. Now they're coming out with like the S2 Sleeper 70, or the better shelter RHU 1.2, which is I guess the most deployed unit in the world at the moment. I think there's about 60 or 70,000 units around the world deployed as rapid shelter solutions. And display, I think it's sort of interesting displaying them side by side of something that's used as like a UN crisis solution or a firefighter solution or a Chinese military solution in the hills of Tibet. And kind of centralizing it alongside, what the city is using right now, pallet shelters to shelter people in an emergency. And then kind of just working through from like kind of smaller, lower barrier to entry housing typologies to these next kind of typologies of just sort of incentivizing different types of development, of just like kind of showing this through visuals, is this centralization of, and this is probably hasn't been updated for a year or two, but it was a lot of cities around California were pre-approving standard plans for ADUs. And so we worked with Clovis, Los Angeles, like 14 different cities around California to centralize those kind of visual display of those plans that you could build in each one of those cities. And so again, kind of just giving people I guess, catalog of kind of looking at what's possible, what are people doing in the space? Generally, how much do things cost? I'd say the one caveat we have on this website is because we're not selling these units, like the price might have changed in the past year, and I wouldn't be surprised if it has, but at least a snapshot in time, at one point you could get this one bed, one bath, 500 square foot for $225,000. But we're not selling it. I mean, it's just like, this is like, okay, if you want to learn more, like you can go check out their website. But again, kind of just creating a kind of a quick lobby to browse. And then essential housing was really focused on just building more affordable housing in communities like Southern California. And I think we kind of looked at this as more of an approach of like, how do you centralize, whether it's policies, density bonuses and the like, or modular design or financing solutions, into a place that sort of breaks down those barriers between ULI, AIA, various types of industry sectors to sort of have a mingling of those ideas and, try to get more, I guess, cross-sector interest and education on various models out there, whether it's a banker learning about, kind of the differences of different types of modular housing, shipping containers versus wood, or it's, an architect trying to understand how a tax-exempt bond works in the deal structure. These like 10-minute snippets that we do on it are sort of, I guess, trying to give people more of a T-shaped understanding of the industry they're operating in. And then the last couple here. So, I mean, we started this housing factory database because it was, obviously there's this trend of a lot of housing factories getting popped up. You've seen it in the news of various factories, both within Southern California, Northern California, internationally, building projects in LA and elsewhere around the country. And so we're like, oh, it'd be sort of interesting to be able to sort through based on what you wanted to build, what factories could deliver that type of project. So if you want to like, do tiny homes and you wanted to see which factories have deployed in like California, for example, you could sort through it and find, the handful of factories that focus on that, or have experience on it just to help kind of, I guess, narrow the search. But again, like this was when we created it as a directory, because this isn't, I guess, the website's not really operated as like a MySpace page where you're, or Facebook page where you're updating it, your own profile. I think that's one of the drawbacks here is that it's not democratized and controlled the content because we're trying to also like keep the quality and the imaging very consistent across each kind of vendor solution that we're presenting. So, I guess you get higher quality, I guess consistency, but then you get less relevant real-time information on it. So, um, and yeah, I mean, like, one of the cool things that we did, just to kind of like kind of bring it all into the same into the full picture here is uh, for many of these, in talking to like architects or developers on projects, they would be like, giving us a tour of the project on a video. But we thought it'd be interesting to see how do you actually create sort of this like immersive experience where you can actually like walk into units, whether they're in China or in Syria or wherever, sort of in a kind of 360-degree way. And so oops, did I stop sharing? So this has a bunch of models of like in Barcelona, for example, the city helped build this shipping container tower. And like while you can go there and someone from the city can give you a tour of it, we can also just kind of jump and like, someone from the city actually just like took these 360 images of this project and walked into a unit of like, what a 8 by I think in this case 20, or maybe this is probably a 40-foot wide shipping container, but sort of just like what those units look like. If folks want to see kind of what like they're doing around affordable housing, rapid shelter in their community. So that this is sort of a blended of a Matterport and a CAD city, basically, of a bunch of models that you can jump around into. And we sprinkle a few conceptual proposals out there that architects spend a lot of time on, but have never really come to fruition on. But thought it would be cool to also highlight those ideas alongside like real world projects. So kind of a fun infotainment place to learn about different, housing development solutions out there. But that's pretty much the gist of the platform. Happy to answer questions, but that's out there, housinginnovation.co.
So I know you were touching on it a little bit, but how is there the possibility for any of the information to just be updated? Maybe they submitted some information because I know like there's some that are like, oh, they're deployed now, or they're in just different, they're in stock. How is that maintained? I'm just thinking as like a end user, as we have info opportunities or just different building opportunities. We're looking at cost effective, we're looking at design, what's in stock, what's available, all these different kind of checkpoints. um, how is that information updated, or is it updated on the end user side?
It's updated if like so pallet shelter, like so some of these companies actually get pretty high volume traffic
Mm,
from us. And so they are staying more on top of us of like, hey, can you update this page of this price or this wording or whatever?
okay.
And like, there's this village, Community First Village in Texas and outside Austin that's had just like tons of people learning about like this um, kind of mix of tiny homes and like trailer parks outside of Austin. And
Hmm.
so there's people like land on this page and see like the map and an overview and like sort of the whole kind of how the whole thing was built and think that we were the developer on it. And so um, we have people that I guess see that they're getting traffic update, like telling us to update it, but we're not actively or proactively calling like every factory and housing manufacturer when they're here because they initially submitted these like pricing proposals and photos and links to videos and various things that were in sort of a standard submission portal. So
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, I think that would be, if we had we could raise a few $1 million and keep it on an ongoing like
Yeah.
sort of Wikipedia core team there, I think that would be great to sort of actively manage that to always make it up to date. But so far, uh, no one wants to pay for that service. So
Yeah. Yeah. And that's,
and like FEMA and these
yeah.
various providers, like they have toyed with covering that research, but I think those possibilities are not going to happen anytime soon. So
Yeah. So it appears though that it hasn't deterred people from using this. You said that there's been, what do you guys have any evidence of this, of the different showcases or examples here of them being utilized too? And
yeah,
um,
when people use that, like when companies use them or like deploy them in the real world, we do like to like get photos of like evidence that they've been how they're set and used and everything. So I mean, like in this case, I think these were deployed at a school in California
mm,
for dorm shelter. But
mm,
yeah, I mean, we are open to keeping them updated as they come in, but it's sort of a two-way street. Like you have to kind of constantly follow up with each developer, community provider, sort of all the providers of information to see kind of what's up to date. Because I think a lot of people aren't really staying on top of the
yeah, yeah.
all the different places their information is displayed.
Yeah, no, I managed just keeping all the information contained in here, which is a lot, especially with how, the accessibility of filtering under it's a lot to manage. So, um, yeah, I still think, I mean, this is a great resource just to see what's out there. I know we had a question from Denise and Ayako. Do you guys want to, if Denise, you want to
Oh,
jump in and
sorry.
then Ayako?
Yeah, I was just gonna put it in the chat, but this is such a great thing. I was just wondering, you did mention about funding and not having it. So who's behind funding it or right now kind of managing it? Is there opportunity for bank funding from that aspect, like where you could get funding, philanthropic funding from banks in the area as well? Just because I'm wondering too, like, is there ever thought been to expand this as for of like people with how to? So, for example, if your house burnt down and you want
Yeah.
to do this, are they going to reassess your taxes? And kind of building more awareness and knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, so far what we've understood is that I guess a platform for educating a broad base of people for free is not something that there's sponsors for, whether it's government or for profit. But yeah, I mean, I think it's certainly possible there's funders out there, but I think it's kind of the Wikipedia problem. It's like everyone uses it, but no one wants to pay for it, and we also don't want to become like sort of a sponsored, like sort of we want to be an unbiased, I guess, platform to provide information, and so we don't want to be pushing um, one idea over another just based on how much they're like paying us to promote it or whatever. So we're trying to find the balance there, but yeah, but there's not really any cost to run it right now, just because it's a active website. We have a subsidiary LLC, so maybe there's a couple $1,000 a year or something to run it, but because we don't have any staff time dedicated to keeping it up to date, there's not really any costs so far.
So it is not a true like nonprofit, right? In that
Well,
aspect.
so Housing on Merit is the parent nonprofit
Mhm.
behind it, which has 85 different partnerships with
Yeah.
for-profit developers, and is kind of an ongoing business. So that is what's, I guess, the core, I guess, subsidy of the platform.
Okay. And you said it's Housing America?
Housing on Merit.
Oh, on Merit. Sorry.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Denise. Ayako, Sumi here. Hi, Denise. Good to see you.
Oh, thanks. Good to see you too.
Yeah, so Charly, thank you again for returning.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we first met 2021-ish, something in that range. It was at an Urban Land Institute event. And we started speaking and we said, wow, there's this great connection. And then, you spoke in 2022-ish, right around there. And I just wanted to point this out to everyone on the call that these even small interactions can really result in some very significant information sharing for the Inland Empire. So any of you on the call, if you know of a very interesting pro-affordable housing resource, not exactly what Charly is doing with the Housing Innovation website, but anything else related to affordable housing, please do refer those on to Melanie Steele, our executive director, to see if there might be an opportunity to expand, all of our minds, right, on the vision of what affordable housing could be. So just wanted to point that out, that small interactions can produce big results. So Charly, I wanted to ask, without asking you to appear that you're favoring one company or any appearance of, favoritism,
Yeah.
would you be able to share with us some of the top 4 or so ADU types or 4 or so small homes that you have seen deployed, that you're aware of? I realize not everyone's going to keep in touch with you after they go to your website.
Yeah.
But what have you seen? What are people building in Southern California?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would caveat that, like, I don't know what the latest status is on various like manufacturers. I feel like the status has changed quite a bit since when we collected information back in 2021, 2022 of what manufacturers' capacity is and the cost. But it's hard to say like what's the best, because each one, it depends on the situation. Like I guess, and we wrote a research paper for HUD a couple of years ago on why it's so hard to say like who the best provider is, because some people are very cost constrained. So a provider that provides an $800 house is the best option versus just like sleeping outside in, like a refugee crisis, for example. So I mean, like, I think there's it's sort of a, I guess, cost benefit of everyone's sort of somewhere on that scale. But like I guess LA has liked pallet shelter as far for the reason of, and I'm not saying it's good or bad, but like they've deployed it because the unit cost is low. It's a few $1,000s. It takes like an hour or two to build. But like, is that the best? I don't know. I mean, if you're doing the same thing, you could probably do it for 1,000. You could probably, build it instantly, kind of like what you see these pop-up, tents doing, or fold-out homes in China or whatever. So whether that's the best design, like it's hard for me to say, because there's definitely other designs out there that are maybe better for speed, or better for sustainability, or better for long-term durability. So I think it's hard to say. It's like, yeah, you can spend $20,000 for a higher quality pallet shelter type of thing with more insulation that is just as easy to build, but that's, for every one you order there, you're foregoing 3 pallet shelters that you could bring someone off the street on. So I don't know. It's hard for me to say whether that's that's the best allocation of funds, but I think that's kind of what I think that's what a lot of cities are like kind of grappling with too. Like, do we take $5 million and do we put it as a slice in this low-income housing tax credit project that's being built for, $700,000 a unit, when like the private market is building it for $250? Like, is that a better return on our cost? Or do we go and, build 100 of these pallet shelters on a city-owned land with that same money? And I think you're going to have a long list of competing interests for either of those directions. But I'm just like, I guess I'm sort of in the camp of they should do both. see, there's kind of a different type of housing for each person. So I think maybe the diversity of what they're doing is probably the best solution of trying a couple different ADUs, rapid shelters. Obviously, larger apartments is always preferable, but there's not enough money to go around for that.
Right. So thanks. And I appreciate that perspective, Charlie, because we agree. Everybody should be doing a few different things, not just one type of housing. And so in terms of the ADU market, say more market rate market, are there a few ADU companies that you're seeing being utilized more in Southern California than others? Not to say that they're better, but just in terms of what you hear in the news or what you hear volume.
I mean, what I've heard is that most people are just building like ADUs. Like the majority of ADUs are either site built, or converting a garage or something. I think these modular solutions for ADUs are not being used that much, and for various reasons, whether it's zoning or cost or kind of availability. Yeah, it's hard to say like the ADU companies that are in these standardized plans. I think some of them are still active in selling ADUs, but I know some aren't. So I don't know which ones are still out there. I mean, there's some great products, but I don't know what those companies. I mean, I would say like if you see something that you like we're trying to just give you like sort of that direction of like, okay, well, go then kind of do that next leg of research on contacting them and see if they're still, offering that unit or whatever. So, but yeah, it's tough to, point out one particular, Cover, for example, a LA-based company. It's much more of like a luxury ADU developer, but like I don't want to like misrepresent that company because I think they also see themselves as like a lower cost housing solution. So it's hard to point to one particular manufacturer, but I think like we're trying to create an unbiased platform to explore that and shop on your own.
Right. Yeah, I understand. Well, thank you, Charlie. Super helpful. Great to see the website really with such high traffic volume. And I think the more information we all have, especially if there are any cities and counties, community development organizations on the phone, every jurisdiction, I hope would take a look at this website to just give yourself some more ideas. So hopefully we've inspired a few people today. Thanks, Charlie.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Ayako, for making the connection for the collective. We appreciate Charlie, you jumping on. And again, the collective is only as strong as the members. And so we appreciate, our members being able to, and our chairs, Ayako is the chair of our expansion of housing solutions pillar, of drawing in resources of ways for us to build more creatively, to think through and to, consider different options. So especially with so many cities in our region and each of them with different end goals and different types of developers in this space, we wanted to definitely elevate this as a resource as we look towards building more housing. So I wanted to thank you, Charlie, again. We're going to pivot to our next presenter. And
Jay,
so,
do we have time, Mel, or no?
sorry. What'd you say, Ayako?
Jay had a quick question in the chat.
Sorry, I didn't see that. Is it something that we could
Do we need to move on? Okay.
Yeah, and we'll get to it. We could send that Jay over as a part of the collective, right? So we'll send that over and follow up with Charlie. So I wanted to pivot over to Graciela Moran. She is the manager for the Office of Policy and Community Engagement at the IE Community Foundation. She's going to be joining us today to provide some updates and some things that they're moving forward. So I have Graciela, I should have You should have gotten persona
Awesome.
rights.
Thank you so much. And I
Mhm.
apologize, everyone. I will have to be off camera as I'm on the field, and
Mhm.
I can guarantee you I'll save you all the burden from hair up, eye bags, as we all are today.
Mhm.
I am gonna go ahead and put this week and just what's been happening federally. I just want to also to acknowledge, thank you all for being on this call. We support Mel, we heavily invest in her, and we believe in the collective. So just thank you all for being here and sharing some time with us. I'm gonna go ahead and share our screen really fast. Moment. All right. Well, hi everyone. My name is Graciela Moran. Again, as Mel had said, I manage our Office of Policy and Engagement at the Inland Empire Community Foundation. We're your region's community foundation. We are place-based, which separates us from the private foundations such as Gates or Weingard or Calendau. Our difference here is what we love to always share is that we're rooted in community. We're here in Riverside. We have a location in San Bernardino, and then as well as in Coachella. If you know where Rap Foundation is in Coachella, that's where we share our office with Letty as well. So I just want to go ahead and thank you all again and all the partners here. I'll be sharing a little bit on what we've been doing with our culture of philanthropy, how we're framing that, our vital conditions and our thriving together framework and how that roots us. And then as well as our Policy and Philanthropy Summit and inviting you all to join us this year as we've been prioritizing housing for the past, I want to say, year and a half, working with Melanie from Inland SoCal Housing Collective. I see a couple of our friends here from Lift to Rise, as well as MPHS and notable other folks as well too in the region. And I'm sorry if I haven't listed you all, but you all have been very pivotal in us figuring out how a community foundation can come in and support the conveners already, as you all are the movers, the shakers, and I like to call you all the worker bees. So thank you so much for all the work you're doing. So our goal with the Office of Policy and Engagement it's really to strengthen Inland SoCal through philanthropy. We want to connect people, our ideas, and resource for a thriving and inclusive region. Our goal as a community foundation is to really see the bright spots in the region, resource folks, and be able to dim a light on the negative and then bring light to the positive. So we stand firm that we are an equity-centered policy and engagement office. We uplift the Inland Empire through housing, education, workforce, and economic opportunity. And I just want to make note of that we are not taking out anything in equity. We're continuing to remain equity focused. So for us, why it matters is we want to make sure that there's civic belonging, narrative power, and sustainable infrastructure to ensure that the IE thrives, because we know that it's led people. And then our strategic influence is activating IECF through a community foundation by elevating community voice in policymaking. Our goal really is to build a public-private coalition through all 52 cities, all 30 districts. And I do see a couple of our friends here, Ulises from Assemblymember Garcia's office and Tiffany from Representative Takano's office. So thank you again for being here. And then driving systemic change across housing, education, workforce, and that all lies within our vital conditions that I'll share a little bit on. Our role something that we've been able to do is shape the California Jobs First plan. We are the fiscal on that, so we work with IEGO, and then our partners as well at Inland Empire Labor Institute. We've been able to also to shape the master plan for career education, and then as well as philanthropy policy partnerships, bringing in philanthropy here in the region, showcasing ready set projects that are ready here, and making sure that the Inland Empire is a voice in all 13 regions throughout the state. And so some of our work as well too is policy and our narrative influence in retelling the story of the Inland Empire, retelling it to private foundations, state. So we try our best to shape that, and we will be doing a little bit more on that with our journalism hub If you aren't familiar with our journalism hub, I'll be happy to send a link there. We hold the region's one of 3 press forward chapters in the nation, which means that the Inland Empire was designated as a news desert. So we're really proud to hold that, and we're excited to build that and make sure that we're not a narrative desert anymore, and we're thriving storytelling. All right. So why do we need a culture of philanthropy? Really, we need more resources in the Inland Empire, again, to close equity gaps, meet the demand and the opportunity. We are the fastest growing region in the state of California. So we do hold a lot of weight, as well as we do house a lot of folks that are commuting to LA, San Diego, and other regions. So we do know that we need more resources. And our nonprofits know what's needed. Inland SoCal Housing, Live to Rise, MPHS, whenever we have questions, whenever funders come to us, or whenever we need to for folks, we always want to make sure that we are referring our nonprofits as they're on the ground. And we need to be organized for bigger dollars. Unfortunately, we do have one of the lowest capita for giving here in the Inland Empire. The minimum is $30 versus in the Bay, it's about $150. The numbers may have changed since I last saw. But for us, that data is key to make sure that we nurture a culture of philanthropy in the region. And policy and advocacy, we need to scale what we're doing. So we're one of one of the few community foundations in the state that has a policy and engagement office, which we're really proud of, and it makes us excited to see MPHS with Ryan Sears has advocacy, as well as Live to Rise with Ian and his team with Jessica as well too. So at IECF, donors, we'd love to say that they help us fuel the work, especially with equity-driven initiatives. So our approach to culture of philanthropy is, well, 1, engage more donors, 2, connect donors to the impact and the work of our nonprofits, and then invest in policy to scale what our nonprofits are doing. But we had 3 questions these past couple of years. But how do we do this at scale? How do we really make change? And how do we measure our efforts? And how can we then find a framework? So we found a framework that works for us, mental mode for us, and what we feel and know, and it was approved by our board as well too. We need a framework to create systemic change, to inspire us, that's understandable, measurable, informative, aligned, and also to brings in dollars to the region. And so we do that with the vital conditions framework. We believe that all human beings rely on 7 vital conditions in order to thrive, to reach their fullest potential. So you'll see here the wheel. It's a bridging framework. It helps non-health stakeholders, just like us here on this call, housers, see their role and potential for contribution. And it centers the role of belonging and civic muscle for success in every other area. So we have that at the center, because if we don't belong, if there's not a sense of belonging, there's no civic muscle, it's going to be really hard to get these other 6 vitals to move together. So here's a closer view at the scale. So we have reliable transportation, thriving natural world, basic needs for health and safety, humane housing, meaningful work and wealth, and lifelong learning. And really the framework says that this is, once a person has all of these and has access to this, or even having a pathway to it, that's when we can see that this is a thriving person. And so we then organize around thriving together, where we view thriving as a measurable goal. Thriving, you're either thriving, you're struggling, or you're suffering. And that's been a measure that we've been able to use at IECF for the Inland Empire, and then our vital conditions for well-being, and something that we're exploring and still working through, as well as our essential stewardship practices. So with shared stewardship at the center, we learn and adapt, we create opportunities, and connect across differences when we convene together. And so we realized through all the research and having consultants in and helping us figure this out, is that we can measure thriving. And for us, all people and places thriving, and it's not an exception anymore in the Inland Empire. So when vital conditions are denied or disrupted, people struggle and suffer which drives demand for urgent services. You can see here on this wheel, and I'm happy to send this slide deck over to you, Mel, to share to the collective. On this end, you'll see the vital conditions, and these are urgent services that are dispersed. So acute care for illness or injury, addiction treatment, crime response, environmental cleanup, unemployment and food assistance, homeless services. And what the health affairs did say, as the CDC does use the vital conditions as well, or did. In times of crisis, urgent services are life-saving and life-altering. Anyone experiencing adversity may need urgent services to regain their health and well-being. And so in every community, the balance of vital conditions, urgent services, it reflects a deeper story about an inherited legacy and who is suffering, struggling, and thriving. And unfortunately, here in the Inland Empire, we do have a lot of inherited legacies, and we're trying our best to fix that through this framework. And again, with shared stewardship, what it means is it grows a belonging and civic muscle to expand vital conditions and shape new legacies for thriving together. In a way that we're doing this is we're convening everyone from all 7 vitals, and we're just talking about it. Where are the areas that need investment? How are we working together? We have housers working together with our education folks and our economic development folks working together with our housing, vice versa, right? And looking for pockets of potential to make sure that we can have a thriving region. I will go ahead and skip that just because we're getting closer to time and I want to make sure for dialogue. But all to say is, let me go ahead and throw this in the chat as well. We have a platform and our motto is join the network and really connect with us for an aligned IE. In that link, you'll see that there's measurables, there's data. You can go in and see who is struggling in the region. You can go in and do sub-regions, check cities, and really see in every single vital what's happening in the region and where we're at. For us, it's a tool for nonprofits, for government folks to zoom in and see where we're at the region. It's a resource kit. So please go on it. It'll be able to tell the story a little bit more on the vital conditions framework. And it zooms out a bit as it is a wonky framework. And sometimes we do get stuck in it. But I really do encourage you all to go on the website. But I won't have time to go through it, but please go through it. My call to action to you all is join us for our Policy and Philanthropy Summit. It's our 5th one that we have. This year, our keynote speaker is Angela Glover Blackwell. She's a civil rights icon, the founder in residence of PolicyLink, a huge policy innovative organization that we work closely with. And we're really excited to host it this year again in Riverside. Early bird pricing ends June 30th. But if you do have a financial barrier, you are a nonprofit, or you want to send some more folks on your team, please send me an email. I'll have a follow-up as well. Here's the QR code. But we'll have panels with housing. We'll have panels with our state elected leaders, breakout rooms where we'll all co-create and work together to figure out solutions in the Inland Empire. This is the only Policy and Philanthropy Summit, not only in the Inland Empire, but the state. So we're really proud to be able to bring in folks all across the state to sit with us and make sure that the Inland Empire is at center stage and making sure that we get philanthropic dollars. And so we'll also have a panel as well on philanthropy. And as we're beginning to co-create and figure out what this summit's going to look like, I do ask, send me an email, ask what you want to see. And as we're finalizing everything, but I just want to go ahead and thank Mel for having me present a little bit, share some wonkiness of the work we're doing at as your local community foundation, and happy to take any questions, or as well, please send me an email. Dan, I just saw your email or your note. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. We try our best to make sure that there's no price barrier. So please, again, I do encourage you to send a note.
Awesome. If there are any questions, if there's any follow-up questions or anything, I could help answer those. and send them over to the foundation or trying to answer them myself. The Inland SoCal Housing Collective, we're a part of the Vital Conditions Framework. They're the network, and especially a strategic partner in the humane housing piece. And so we've been working with the foundation, others for, man, has it been like 2 years at least? Maybe 2 years since we've had just the starting conversations of what this could look like, and what could a network of networks look like, and how we as a housing convener can poise itself as a multi-solver, right? Being in the same spaces with some faith partners and building on faith-based land, or working with our transportation folks and working with cities, and how it's housing is the center of this, but as we function and build our work, we're really looking at how we solving other problems across sector lines, collaboratively, and being more impactful in our region. So we're appreciative of the foundation and the collaboration that we've had with them in this, and we look forward to still moving on. There will be a housing panel at the conference too. So please join and be there to support too. So yeah, if there's any questions, feel free to send them on to Graciela or to me. Yeah, Ayako.
Oh, Graciela, Ayako, Sumi here. I just wanted to comment.
Hi, Ayako. Good to hear you and see you.
Yes, yes. I just wanted to thank you. Last year, I attended as a guest of Damien O'Farrell's group, and the church that you brought that gave us their background on their affordable housing outreach, and I'm blanking on the name of the church. They were from the Pacific Northwest, but he was originally from Southern California. That presentation was really top notch, so authentic, so much good detail, and so inspirational. So thank you for
No, I
more
appreciate
content. Yeah.
I appreciate that too, and we're hoping to have a faith-based panel as well, especially as we are in this moment where we do need some pockets of potential and also to some hope. So they'll be talking about faith-based land, how to come together, and also to intersect that with housing. So really excited because of that panel and how everyone really enjoyed it.
Yes, thank you.
Of course.
All right. Well, thank you so much. We're going to pivot to our next portion of the meeting, which is our general, it's our update time. So I'd like to invite any of our pillar chairs who are on to jump in and spend just a few minutes of any pillar updates that we might have from this past meeting. So yeah, Ayako, if you want to jump in for expansive housing solutions, that would be great.
Yeah, thank you, Mel. We meet the second Thursday of every month from 9 to 10 a.m. Second Thursday, 9 to 10 a.m. We are dark in July. July, and we will resume in August. So a number of you attended our annual business-to-business mixer, affordable housing mixer, and we had, it was a great time, great lineup. I think we all learned so much. And we were in San Bernardino this time. We did have over 70 people sign up, but about 40-ish people attended. And so what we would like to hear from you is, was the location okay? Did we need to send more reminders? Was it the content? We'd love some feedback from you all. So in order to expand access for everyone to attend, we did have it in Riverside for the first 3 years. But would just like your input onto how to improve it. So thank you, everyone. You can text us, text Melanie, email Melanie, or call me. I'll put my email there too. And we would love to hear your feedback. Thank you.
Awesome. All right. I was just seeing who else was on.
Yeah, I'm here, Melanie J, and I have to say goodbye so I can meet with Lupita with the Mechanics Bank. Just encourage everyone to participate in our wealth building as well as our Bank On program. A lot of exciting things happening, and don't hesitate to join in or ask questions about what in the world is bank owned.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Jay. Jay and I actually got to attend the annual Bank On conference in the end of May. And so that's great. They do it every 2 years. And so we were able to listen and meet with folks from the OCC, from the Federal Reserve of St. Louis and Boston. We're both there. Different representatives from financial institutions, credit unions. We had Lisa Heasley from California Credit Union who was there representing. So there's 3 of us from the IE. And we were all talking about just access to financial tools, specifically bank accounts. And so this is something, this initiative and national strategy, we host this local coalition within the collective. And this coalition strategy is threaded in our wealth building and preservation pillar. Within our wealth building and preservation pillar, we're also working with NFCC as well as credit.org to have a financial finance, the near verified version is a faith, finance, and home ownership forum with some of our faith partners, as well as some of our stakeholders, a 2-part series forum where we're going to be talking about access to financial tools, also home ownership, as well as preserving home ownership. So looking into estate planning. What was elevated from many of our faith partners was that a lot of folks within their congregations, specifically with some of the few churches, had said, we have some families that own homes, but as they're passing away, they're not put into appropriate, like in a trust, they're not passed on to their family, they're getting lost in probate. And so what we're seeing specifically in our region is a huge loss of generational wealth, where we have, housing, stable housing. There's ways that we could preserve that and ensure that our families are retaining wealth. So that organic conversation has kind of weaved its way in the past year and a half into this forum in partnership with NFCC and credit.org. And this will be rolling out in September. So keep your eyes open for that. We'll be getting more information as we get things more finalized, as well as Hispanic lifestyle is a part of that organizing piece too. In our policy pillar, we have been focusing. I don't know if you were able to catch or to see our newsletter. In the newsletter, an action toolkit was passed along from enterprise community partners, specifically though from the statewide policy coalition, as they've released an action tool in regards. Oh, perfect timing. Araceli, who's from Enterprise Community Foundation, Enterprise Community Partners, is just jumping on. So within that pillar, our focus has been on the budget and the bond. Fully realizing in the past couple of years, we've had some awesome housing policy that has unlocked barriers, but the constant piece that remains absent is the financing, the capital, and able to and require the capital required to build. So those two that has been our priority for this beginning half of the year, focusing on the budget as well as the bond. And Araceli, I know you just jumped on, but if you have a minute, I was just giving an update for the policy pillar and wondered if you could share a minute or two about the action, the toolkit that you sent out. And I was sent out yesterday in the newsletter.
Yeah, definitely. Sorry, just settling into coming off
sorry.
another meeting.
I'm sorry.
I just want to make sure I have the link available. 1 second.
I can do it if you want to talk.
Oh, yeah. Okay,
I'll do
great.
it for you. Go ahead.
Perfect. Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Araceli. I work for Enterprise Community Partners out of our SoCal market. And we convene a statewide budget coalition with Housing California and a number of other statewide housing groups. And we have been most recently organizing some advocacy efforts in response to the legislature's budget plan. And if folks didn't see the full details, we can follow up with it with some links afterwards. But we wanted to just take the opportunity to share our most recent toolkit, which really does a couple things. One, acknowledges that the budget included that the legislature's plan did include some money for LIHTC and MHP. However, there was $0 for Cal Home, which is a priority of our coalition, and HAP. There is some intent language to fund HAP for the next for 26-27 fiscal year, but not this year. And so that is deeply concerning to us. And so the toolkit includes some targeted advocacy to the governor's office, and you'll see the messaging reflected there. I'll also link in the chat the coalition's statement on the budget proposal that was released last week. We are hearing that negotiations are ongoing, so it's really important that if folks do want to take action, they do so as soon as possible, and that you dedicate some energy to this over the next week or so. I think latest I heard during our coalition meeting earlier today was that it could happen as soon as late this week, early next week. And so we're really focused on just, doing as much as we can to elevate these priorities. And the toolkit itself links a bunch of the materials I've been referencing. But if you have questions, feel free to shoot me an email or reach out. My email's in the toolkit as well. Thanks, Mel.
Thanks, Araceli. Thanks for jumping in, like minute 2 of you joining the meeting. I appreciate it. And
I have a quick Ayako here again. Mel, you mentioned that in September you're having some workshops around preserving intergenerational wealth of through home ownership. So I know the California Department of Aging is also very concerned about older adults foreclosing or the reverse mortgages going awry. They're very interested, but they didn't know where to start. So let's definitely touch base about that and let the Department of Aging know, and maybe maybe they can open some doors. So great.
That sounds great. Thank you. Kaylin, do you want to pop in? Yeah. Do you have a question?
Yeah, it was for Araceli. We recently just were reached out to by Housing Now, Francisco, and they're doing a push because of the Dream for All, I guess, has been overly funded, and they've left out Cal Home from the construction standpoint. And so we're preparing a letter for that. Would that be in support of, I've just glanced, because I don't want to counterproductive, but we love Cal Home as well. So we want to make sure we're encouraging it, but I want to make sure that it's still in line with what you guys are doing as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. And we Habitat is part of our budget coalition, and they obviously represent Cal Home in these discussions. And we are supportive and aligned with those efforts, and are in the messaging and the statement and in the toolkit calls out for the need to really invest some of that home ownership money into Cal Home. We're hearing that there's really no like red flags from leadership about Cal Home. Folks are like supportive of Cal Home, but there is someone within the Senate who's really pushing for the Dream for All, which is why you're seeing the intel that we got is that that's why that's there. And so anything you could do to elevate Cal Home would be super, super helpful. And Habitat also has a coalition letter circulating that many of our coalition partners are on. So all of that is in alignment with the priorities in the toolkit and everything I've just shared.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's great. I'm glad, because I just want to make sure it's all aligned, work in the right direction, and not, you know what I mean, counterproductive to any other area. So thank you for that.
Awesome. So then we can open up this time to just general comments, updates, that any members that are still on. I know we've had a few, and this usually happens around a few jump off because of conflicting meetings. But is there any other announcements, updates, events happening that any folks, any members would like to share out?
Melanie, we could share from Riverside County. They had their budget hearings last week, and I think Jessica from our team spoke at the one of the pillar meetings about it. And thank you for sending out the advocacy toolkit. The Board of Supervisors did end up voting to allocate an additional $5 million to the County Housing and Workforce Solutions Department than what was originally planned. It was an ask that department made to sort of augment funding available for affordable housing construction. So that's really great news. It is a very constricted budget environment for the county as well, because a lot of their funds are from the federal government, and there's a lot of sort of uncertainty around whether those funds are going to be available. So Lift Rise and many partners have been pushing the county, and residents from the Coachella Valley as well have been pushing the county to make sure that they allocate sufficient funds from their general fund to sort of get ahead of those potential cuts. So it wasn't as much as we had been calling for. We had said 100 million, but 5 million is still something, and 100 million was probably unrealistic to begin with. But 5 million still is a lot that the county can use to leverage other sources of funds to get affordable housing produced. So that goes across the county. So we just wanted to flag that and thank anyone and everyone who helped with that effort and advocating for those dollars.
Thank you for sharing that one, and for Lift to Rise leading that effort. I think I talked to Azalea too, and I think I talked to Jessica and you. So it was, I appreciate you guys sending that piece over, because it just, especially you, I know you all had invested a lot of time in tracking that and getting, a toolkit ready. So we appreciate that work and being able to share it with other members and just the collective itself. So that's a great one. Thank you for sharing out. Okay. Last call, any other wins or announcements? Okay. Well, with that being said, again, I'm going to just do a quick reminder. So in the month of July, Ayako, go ahead.
Yes. So I'm going to open up back the expansion of housing solutions pillar, because for some reason I thought we were trying to end at 2:00, so I made my announcement really short. But again, expansion of housing solutions pillar, we meet the second Thursday of the month from 9 to 10 a.m. And then again, we're dark in July. We'll restart in August. So I just put in the chat a document from City Lab. They just completed a design contest of small infill lots, and in order to promote more middle housing. And that's one of our foci this year, is to just do a little bit deeper dive in middle housing. Can we build more, create more, support more middle housing in the IE? So please do download that attachment. It'll give you a brief overview of what can be done with smaller lots. Every single city, county jurisdiction, they all own small lots. So that can be 15,000 square feet, 10,000 square feet or less. And what can we do with those besides just building one single family house? Can we build more density, but still make it look attractive and enhance the neighborhood, not detract from it? So we hope that if you would like to explore this with us further, please join us on second Thursday of the month. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, we have already a great agenda planned for our August meeting. So, so just a quick reminder, we are going to be dark in all our pillar and general meetings in the month of July. It just seems easier and best as most folks are doing summary things. It's great to just hop over to August when most folks are kind of back into the groove. So we hope that if you do have any vacation, you guys have safe time. And still feel free to email. The work will still be moving forward. We just won't have any collective meetings in the month of July. So, alrighty. Well, I will give you guys some time back. Thank you for staying on. And I look forward to seeing you in August, if not sooner. Take care.
Mel, for a great year.
All right. Bye-bye. See you in August.